Sorry. Okay, so now what we're going to do is I'm going to share my screen here, and I have, if you guys pull up the pull up your seller's net estimate. Now I'm going to shrink this down, guys. I won't be able to see your chat, so I'll come back and look at your chat questions as we go through. But I emailed, or Tracy emailed you guys a sample, and we're going to go through this sample using the cheat sheet. So all of you guys should have had the cheat sheet. The cheat sheet should have been emailed to you. We're going to go through the cheat sheet as we fill out this form. So we are, our client, our seller is Taylor Alexis. That's my daughter's first and middle name. I figured I'd have fun with it. Since she's looking at Montana University, I figured the property address would be 2022, she's going to start there, 2022, Montana Way. And our closing date is 5/20. Okay, estimated closing date is 5/20. Here is where I would tell you, and if you look, estimated closing date, use closing date on offer. What you can do here is whatever closing date they provide you on the offer is the date that you're going to put in here. So remember, this isn't, not talking about listings. You know what I mean? We're not talking about you getting the business, meeting with the seller. We're actually talking about, we have an offer on the house. Okay. And they've said that they want to close on May 20th. Now it's important that we remember, and we try to be fairly accurate with our closing dates and proration in our numbers, because if we do have multiple offers, if we have an offer of 200,000, but they want a 2 or 3 month closing, what is the seller's estimated net versus if the offer was 195 and they want to close next month? You see what I'm saying? So don't get caught up with your sellers. And I don't want to this isn't a class about how to present offers. This is a class about this. One of the things that you have to remember is that you want to be able to provide your sellers with as much information as possible and what their estimated net is. And it's not always about highest price. I just gave you a great example. If somebody came in and offered 200,000 on the house, and let's say it's listed at 195, okay, they offered 200,000 and they want to close in 2 months. How does that compare to someone who comes in and offers 195 and close in 30 days? Okay, it's not always about price. It's also about the terms. What type of loan are they getting? When are they wanting to close? Are they cash? There's all number of different things that come in mind. The other thing is what is your seller situation? Maybe that 2 or 3 month closing works for them because that gives them time to find their own house. Okay, so there's a lot of things that go into play as far as the time. So when it comes to the estimated closing date, we're going to want to make sure that we're fairly accurate on here. Now, our form, the seller's net estimate, you can find an Instanet. Okay, it's real simple, and you can simply fill it out as you go. You can even put your labels up here at the top. A lot of times what I'll do is I'll put offer, or actually I'll put offer here. I may put a counter. If I know that my sellers are going to want a counter, I may put counter at the top of this one. It gives you 2 columns for you to figure it out, so you can compare the prices. Or you can go in here and put in list price. So if I wanted to say, okay, our offer is 200,000, and I want you to write this in, so 200,000, I may put over here 195. Okay, I may put in 195 or whatever our list price is. And that way you can kind of see in comparison how it is line item by line item. Now, for today's class, I'm not going to fill out the list price, so I'm going to leave this blank. I also want it to be available for you to make notes on this if need be. Now, you've got your cheat sheet that lines up with the form to use. So when you're going in here, make sure you put in the seller's both names, if it's an LLC, if it's an estate, whatever is on the purchase contract, whatever is on the listing agreement is what you need to put in here for the seller, okay? Be specific with your address. You're going to want to put the address in, the city and zip code, city, state, and zip code. I didn't put it here, but it's best to have it in there as detailed as possible. And then last but not least, your estimated closing date. Okay, so the offer that we have on hand is the offer is $200,000. So we're going to put $200,000 there. And then it comes down here, the seller's estimated cost, existing first mortgage balance per lender or per seller. Now, if you're like me, I like specific numbers. However, sometimes when you meet with the seller, they may not have the mortgage information on hand or readily available. Now, with today's technology, they should be able to obtain it, but a lot of times they won't. And sometimes they'll just give you a round number. Okay. Well, Taylor's telling me I think I owe about 100,000 left on. I owe, my mortgage is now down to 100,000. So that's why it's marked here, existing first mortgage balance per lender or per seller. Well, I'm going to mark this per seller because that is what she told me. And based on what she shared, she said that the mortgage amount, the remaining amount on the mortgage is 100,000. Okay, so we're going to go with 100,000. Give you guys a second here. So just remember, if they give you a specific number from the lender, use that because it's obviously going to be more accurate. Okay. Existing second mortgage, home equity, if available. Guys, this is where there's any second mortgages, home equity loans against the house. If there's, a lot of times maybe a seller has gotten a second loan during the process of their ownership to make updates to the house, remodel it and so forth. That is a lien against the home. That means that lien has to get paid at closing. So if they have any liens or anything like that, or second mortgages, excuse me, not liens, but any second mortgages, you would put that number here. In this particular case, Taylor does not have anything. She just has the primary mortgage, so we're going to put 0 there. Our mortgage payments are current. You can mark it as yes. If it's no, it says there, explain on back. I've never had anybody do that. I just want to make sure that the seller understands that any other liens, any other mortgages, or anything credited or leaned up against the house, credited, loan, credit cards, whatever, that's all got to be paid if the house is involved. Okay, if the house is used as collateral. Other debt that will show on the title. What you would put here, this is for any unpaid judgments, child support, IRS liens, anything that is quote unquote against the house. Now, here's the thing. You have to have this tough conversation with the sellers. They probably are going to be embarrassed to share anything with you about any unpaid child support or liens or anything like that, but you have to at least ask and let them know it's okay if you've got some unpaid liens or judgments against you, because we need to know about it now. It's going to come up and it's going to get paid at closing. You don't want a surprise like that, and it's happened. I've had it happen with a divorce where my seller had to pay off like 12 grand, and fortunately he was still in the black after paying that 12 grand. Okay, we didn't find out about it until when would we find out about something like that? If the seller didn't know about it, when would we find out about it? Bingo, it's on the title work. It's on the title work. You're learning. Okay, so for this point here, we're going to put here 0. There is no additional debt. Okay, title insurance. With the title insurance, you're going to take the rate card from that title company, usually Security First Title. You're going to take that rate card. Oh, love it. There we go. Thank you. So you're going to take that rate card. You're going to find that price at 200,000. Take the first column and divide that by 2. Per the contract, the buyer and the seller agree to split title insurance. So if the title insurance on your rate card, your current rate card, make sure you have a current one, because when I was putting this together, putting this class together, I grabbed my rate card out of my bag, and it was from 2018. So just a little old. So the new one, the total rate on that is $940. So we're going to take 940 and do what? Divided by 2, which is how much? 470. So we're going to put 470 here. Closing fee, all you need to know about the closing fee, most title companies, I have not, and I can say it because we're here, I'm not, when I teach the class down at the board office, I'm not supposed to talk about different title companies, but since Security First Title is in our office, their rate is $260. Well, it's actually $520. That the total is $520, but all you need to know is $260 because the buyer and the seller agree to split the cost of the closing fees. So the closing fee on this would be $260. Okay, now let's talk about commission. Have you ever wondered, there we go. Have you ever wondered why the brokerage fee is split out between the listing agent and the buyer's agent? Why not just put 6%? Okay, there's a number of reasons why. First, let's say it's a previous client of mine. Maybe I just helped them buy this house a year or two ago. And so they've come back to me and they're making another change. They got to transfer, whatever the case may be. I may only want to charge them 5% instead of 6%. Okay. Or maybe it's the listing or the buyer's agent has made some sort of an agreement that they're only going to take 2% on their side to help with the contract, with the offer. Okay, who knows? Could be any number of reasons why. So we want to be able to split that out so that we can be able to manage the prices correctly. The other thing you want to do, and this is key, is this gives you an opportunity to explain to your seller that, Taylor, in this case, I'm going to be paid 3%. Oops. 3% of the listing fee. That's what I'm going to be paid for our services to help get your house sold. So you take 3%. How do we figure this up? Of the current purchase price of the offer. So it's 200,000 times 3%, which is how much? $6,000. Okay. Then I will tell the seller that I don't get all 6%. We have to pay the buyer's agent for bringing the buyer to the table. And per our listing agreement, that's also 3%. So basically breaking it down in half supposedly makes the seller feel better that yeah, it's 12 grand total, but 6 is coming to our brokerage, 6 is going to their brokerage. Okay. So it helps kind of the perception of what's going on. So what's 3% times 200,000? 6,000. Oops. Okay. Are we all good here on that? All right. Buyer cost paid by seller. This is the line where you would put in if the offer says seller agrees to pay up to and not to exceed $5,000 in buyer's prepaid closing costs, yada, 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 yada. So that is where you would put this in. Okay. In this particular case, our offer is clean because right now in our current market, the way it is, not too many people are asking for help. Now we've seen some, but if they're asking for any type of help, this is the line you would put it in. So in this particular example, the offer is not asking the seller to make any payments towards their closing costs. So what would we put here? 0. Okay. Loan costs prohibited to be paid by buyer on government loans. Now I'm going to stop here real quick and just let you guys know that this form is very old. It is back from 2016 is the last time our association has updated this form. I don't say petition, but I have asked the forms committee to look at this form as well as our buyer's estimate. because it needs some tightening up. There's some things in here that have changed. This is one of them. Loan costs prohibited to be paid by buyer on government loans. What do you guys, I know I've got it here in the cheat sheet. This is really only used for VA loans. And that's now changing also. It was going to be, it was set that sellers had to pay for termite inspections for the buyer, for a VA buyer. That's now starting to change also. That may be going away. Now I have not gotten a definitive answer on that, whether that's happened or not. So really that is about the only time that you would put this in there. And I usually put under $100. Sometimes I'll put $50. I mean, it's so to cover it, I always go with 100. Now, what I will tell you is the one thing I do with my sellers is this. I explain to them right up front that my numbers are high. Mr. and Mrs. Seller, or Taylor in this case, Taylor, I'm going to let you know my numbers are high on this because I'd rather you get more money at closing than what I'm showing you today. Okay. It's a sickening feeling when you get to closing and the seller is not getting as much money as what we had thought when you sat down and wrote up the offer. Where that comes in really big is if they had another mortgage on the house that you were not aware, any unpaid support, whatever the case may be. That's you don't have any control over that. Okay. But these items you do have control over. So I always like to try, I always try to like to hit the number, see how close I can get to that number with this when we get to closing. So when that settlement statement comes out, I'm looking at it saying, oh, I'm $60 off, or, you know, whatever the case may be. The other thing is back up there at this number here, they may have told you it's 100,000, but unless you actually have the number, what if it's 105? They still owe 105. So I always try to tell them my number, I shoot my numbers high so that you get more than what you're expecting. And if it's lower, then I'm trying to go in and find out what it is. Why did I mess up? Where did I mess up? All right. So loan costs prohibited to be paid by buyer on government loans. Majority of the time, guys, you're going to leave this blank or leave it as 0. Overnight delivery of documents. This is very rarely ever done anymore. Everything's done electronically. The documents are now sent to the title company. Occasionally there may be a charge for it. Even for the electronic transfer, there may be a charge for it. So that is, we're talking about paying off the mortgage, okay, the seller's mortgage. And usually we don't have to do that anymore because all the documents are sent back and forth electronically. So we're going to put 0 here. Just always use 0.
Better to put 0 in there than nothing.
Correct. Well, sewage inspection. You only need this for the city of Wichita. If you need to make a note of that, please do. If it's in the city of Wichita, the seller is going to probably end up paying for a well inspection or a septic or a lagoon inspection. If it's in the county or any place else, chances are it's not going to be charged. That then falls on the buyer. Any inspections outside of the city of Wichita, that now becomes an issue for the buyer to inspect, just like anything else. If they want a radon test, termite inspection, mechanical inspection, a well, septic, or lagoon inspection, that is a responsibility of the buyer, unless it's in the city of Wichita. And what we call it is a title transfer. Okay, it's a title transfer inspection is what the city calls it. So if it's in the city of Wichita and it has an irrigation well, a drinking well, et cetera, it's going to be charged. And in this particular case, Taylor's home does have an irrigation well. So it's going to be $125 for an irrigation well inspection. I believe it's $250. It's been a while since I've done a drinking well, but if it's a well that's used for drinking water, the city's going to test the water as well, and that's going to be around $250. So we're going to put in there $125 for the time being because it's just an irrigation well. Reinspection fee. If you look at your cheat sheet, it's the $100 to $200 if needed with FHA or VA. So what does this mean? Well, not, yes, it depends on their loan, but what part of the loan?
It's when the appraiser wants repairs done.
Correct.
And so if the appraiser has to come out and re-inspect and make sure that the repairs have been done, and that's the reinspection.
Correct. And those, that'll be anywhere from $100 to $200. Now, at this juncture, when you're presenting an offer, do we know whether or not there's going to be a reinspection? Nope. So what are we going to put there?
The highest cost
Nope.
done.
You put 0. We don't know whether a reinspection is going to be done or not. So we're going to put 0 in there for the time being. If it's conventional, we don't even have to worry about it. So I just let my sellers know that the reinspection fee is if we have a VA or FHA appraisal done and they have required the repairs to be re-inspected, it's going to be $100 to $200. But for right now, we're going to leave that blank. We're going to leave it 0 because we don't know. We don't know if that's going to happen or not. Okay. So the next one is home inspection. Who normally pays for the home inspection? Come on, guys. Who
Buyer.
buyer. So if why would we, the only time you would ever put anything in on this line is if it's in the purchase contract. They wrote it in there that the seller agrees to pay for home inspection. Okay, whatever. So what are we going to put here? 0. Consequent repairs. You guys are going to leave this blank. Put a 0 in here. The only time you would ever put anything in there at this point is if they put it in the purchase contract that they want Taylor to fix the roof, or if you know what, you know, the buyer comes with a bid, maybe they want the sewer line replaced and they have a cost of $3,000. You could put it in here. I'd rather you put it down at the bottom and other. That's where I would prefer to see it. But we don't know what the consequent repairs are from the mechanical inspection. Have we had the inspection done yet? Nope. So why would we put anything here? So always put for consequent repairs, always put 0. Termite treatment. It's going to be 0. Why is it 0? Well, it is a buyer. Well,
Haven't been done yet.
Exactly. The termite treatment hasn't been done yet. We don't know if it needs a termite treatment. Okay. Now, I would explain to my sellers that if they find termites per the purchase contract, you as the seller are responsible for getting it treated. Regardless, you have to get it treated. That means the buyer still has to go through with the purchase of the house. They can't back out of it because of termites. The only side note to that is if there's structural damage, then we have to negotiate that. But that aside, for this particular, the seller's net estimate, we don't know if there's going to be a termite issue or not. So what do we put here? 0. Same thing with radon remediation. We don't know if it's got radon unless your seller has had a test done and you know it's got high radon, then you could put it in here. But if we don't know about it, what are we going to put here? 0. We won't know until the buyer has had it tested. And what I'll do is I'll usually tell them if they find that you have radon, that cost could be anywhere from $800 up to $1,500. Okay, somewhere in that range. Home warranty plan. This varies depending on what is in the offer. You'll find that on the very first page of the purchase contract. On their home warranty, they're supposed to spell out what the company is, what the plan is, and what the cost is. That's all supposed to be spelled out on that first page. Okay. So in this particular offer, the home warranty plan, let's say was AHS, whatever plan for $680. So you're going to put that in there. So if you are comparing offers and one offer has no home warranty and the other one has a home warranty, $680 can make a difference. Okay. Again, that's a part of the terms that your seller is going to want to look at. All right, let's talk about interest proration. If you choose, and I will tell you that, let me start out this way. Interest proration, just go ahead and leave it blank. Just put 0 in there, and I'm going to explain to you why. If we close on the 20th, okay, we close on the 20th, the last payment that the seller made was May 1st, right? Would you agree with me? So we've made the payment May 1st. Your mortgage payment is also paid in arrears. So when they paid it on May 1st, did they pay for April? Yes, because they just lived there. So they paid for the month of April, but they still owe, did they not own the house from May 1st to the 20th? So what that means that they have to pay the interest from May 1st through the May 20th. Now you can go in and take a look at if you have the information from the seller, you can take a look at their last bill, take the principal and interest, divide that by 30 days times 20, divide by 30 days times 20 days. You can figure it up that way if you choose to do so. I haven't done that in God knows how long. I don't care when the closing date is. And the reason being is most of the time it applies to FHA and is already included. But keep in mind, majority of the time, your seller has been paying money into escrow, right? They've been paying every monthly payment they make. A portion of that payment is for insurance and for taxes. So we're closing in May. That means the lender has been collecting extra money for taxes and insurance. So now here we are closing and you got all this money in escrow. Your seller will not receive that escrow amount at closing. They don't get it. They don't receive it at that point. It is usually sent to them 20 to 30 days after, some cases 1 to 2 weeks, depends on who the lender is. But they will get a check because they have to close out the escrow account and then they send the seller a check. So really that's kind of a wash compared to the number of days that they've owned in the house that month. Does that make sense? So for the most part, I just tell my sellers interest prorated for 30 days. Guys, we're not going to worry about that because whatever's in your escrow is probably going to cover that. So I always just put 0 there. Okay. I'm going to let you guys make your notes on that, and then we're going to talk about the general taxes. So our form allows us to split them out between the general taxes and the specials. I would encourage you to do that. I have seen some agents lately add the two together, and that's fine. You're going to still get the same number, but you want to be able to show the seller that this portion is actually for the taxes. This portion here is for the specials that are on the house. So we know that we're closing May 20th. Is the seller still responsible for paying the taxes from January 1st through May 20th? Yes, we haven't paid it yet, correct? I just showed that to you right here. That's this section right here. So we're going to put in here 1-1, January 1st to 5/20. Okay. Now, somewhere on the bottom of your page, I want you to write this down and we're going to figure it out. The general taxes for this house is $2,400 a year. See, I'm making the numbers real simple and easy for you. So the general taxes is $2,400 a year. The best and easiest way to do this is take the $2,400, divide that by what? What do you guys think? I'm sorry? Nope. If it's $2,400 for the year, you can go 365 if you choose to do so. If you really want to be specific, that's fine. I use the banker's calendar 360. So I'm going to take $2,400 and divide that by 360 days. That gives me what? 6.6666. So basically $6.67. Now we got to figure up the number of days. So I want you to follow along with me. And I know you guys can't see me because I'm sharing my screen, but think about this. You got January, February, March. How many months is that? 3 months. How many days in a month? 30. So we have 3 months times 30, 90. What about April? That's another month, right? Because we haven't paid April. So now we got January, February, March, April. That's 4 months times 30 days is how many days? 120 days. Now we're closing May 20th. So how many days would we add to that? 20. So we have 120 days for the 4 months, 20 days into the month of May. How many total days? 140. So now you're going to take $6.67 times 140 days. And that's going to give you 933.33. Now, what I do, and what I did in this class is I rounded up to 934. Okay, so we're going to put 934. That is how you prorate your taxes. Now, you had said 365. Absolutely, you can use 365. But you got to be able to, then you've got to be able to count the specific total number of days from January 1st through May 20th. Now, I don't use this form with my sellers. I have a spreadsheet, of course. Imagine that, me with a spreadsheet. I have a spreadsheet that calculates the number of days for me. And all I do is put the dates in, it subtracts and figures out the number of days times 2,400 divided by 365. So however you want to do it is fine. I'm just making it easy by doing the 360 calendar. Okay. Now we have to do the same thing with the specials. So 1 through 520. Now let's see if you guys can figure this out on your own. The specials per year is $900 a year. So $900 a year is your specials. We're closing May 20th. I'm going to give you guys a minute or two here. Again, if you take a look at the cheat sheet, you take the total tax divided by 360 days times the number of days from January 1st to the closing date. Cece's done. Cece, what's your number? 350. So that's our totals, $350. For those of you online, hopefully you came up with that same number. So we would take $900, divide that by 360 times 140 days. That's going to give you 350. Okay, now remember I talked about the proration of taxes. I showed you how to figure this up using this chart. Do we have to pay for the last half? Now look at this, last half of last year's taxes. Do we have to pay that? Keep in mind, we're closing here. June is here. We have not paid for this section over here, right? Okay, so how do we figure that up?
Can't you just take it off the tax statement?
Well, sure, you can take that. Well, that's where you're going to get the tax. I mean, that's where that's where I'm getting my numbers.
Yeah, but the statement itself breaks it up into halves.
Sure, I mean, you can do that, but there's an easier way to even do that.
Okay.
All you do is you add the specials. You take the total taxes of $2,400. You add the $900 for the specials and divide that by 2.
Oh, that's all.
That's it. General taxes plus special taxes divided by 2. So how much is that? $1,650. Okay, does that make sense? You're going to take the generals plus the specials total for the year and divide it by 2, and that's what the number you're going to put in there. Pretty simple. Okay. All right. These 2 lines here are for any other items added. If you've got something miscellaneous, like the seller agrees to pay $3,000 towards builder of their choice to repair the roof, whatever the case may be, you would put that number in there. Okay, and it gives you a way to spell that out. You can type it in here, roof repairs, however you want to, what you want to do. To make this simple, we're going to keep this blank. We're going to put 0 here, 0 here. All right. So now, less total estimated closing costs. This is what I don't understand. Well, I know what they did. What this is total estimated costs. If you look at your cheat sheet, you're going to add up everything above. Everything, this number here, and the form calculates it for you. The 116,469 is all this, including paying off their mortgage. It also includes paying off the mortgage. So We add it all up. The total estimated cost is 116, 469. So if you're having to do this in person by hand, you would add them all up. Okay. Then we take this and do what with it? We subtract that from the offer. In this particular case, our offer is 200,000 right here. So we take 200,000 minus 116, 649. The estimated net proceeds to seller. So Taylor, with this particular offer, you're going to net $83,531 approximately. Does that make sense? That's how you figure it out, guys. What I would encourage you to do is let the seller know that by signing this does not mean that it's firm, that they're acknowledging they have received a copy of an estimated right here, net to seller. Mr. Taylor, I'm going to ask you to sign this saying that I went over these numbers, over this estimate with you. Just shows that I've gone over it with you, and then I sign it too. It's as simple as that. Okay. And then you type in the seller's names, have them sign and date it, and then you sign and date it. Okay. All right. I'm going to stop the screen share. Hopefully everybody online is caught up with everything. Let's see here. Oh, stop share. There we go. There we go. All right. I don't see anybody has put anything in chat. So you guys can unmute yourselves. Does anyone have any questions? Did this help? Good, good, good. Miranda, any of you guys have any questions?
Hey, Lance, I have a question.
Shoot.
Before you stop your recording, can you go over that part on the paper about the half month or the half year on taxes? So at least whoever watches this later will get that.
I will redo that.
Okay.
Okay. Nope, I'm down to my last paper. Okay, so I forgot to turn the recording on earlier, so we're going to go over this portion one more time. So to help determine whether or not the taxes need to be paid. There we go. That's a little bit better. The best way to figure it out is to draw a timeline. Okay. And so we're closing May 20th. So remember, our payments are made in December and in June, twice a year. December and June is when taxes are paid. So I'm going to write here June here. Then we've got December here, December 21. This is June 22. We've got June 21. Oops. And then we've got December 20. All right. We are closing May 20th, which is right here. It's going to be in the middle. So we close 5/20. I'm right here closing. Taxes are paid in arrears. So when the taxes were paid in December, it actually paid for the first year of 2021. Okay, it's taxes are paid in arrears. So when December was paid, it paid for the first half of 2021. We closed May 20th. The next time we make a payment is June. We no longer own the house by the time June comes. So because of this, we now have to pay for the second half of 2021, and we have to pay for the 140 days between January 1st and May 20th. So this comes out of this closing, the second half of 2021, because it hasn't been paid yet. And that's how you figure up the second half to have to be paid or not. Hopefully that comes out all right.
I don't know why, but the second time it all just clicked. I don't know if it's because we went through everything, but.
Okay. How was that, Erica? Was that good?
Yes, thank
Oh.
you.
Perfect. Anyone else have any questions on anything? Guys, thank you. I am actually going to be going to a class myself this afternoon on the MLS. I want to make sure that even though I'm on the board of directors, I'm very familiar with the MLS. I want to make sure I'm not missing anything with some of the new technology that they have put into our MLS system. So I'm going to learn how to do better searches. More, I think I've got it down pretty good, but I want to make sure I'm not missing anything. And as soon as I get through that class, then we're going to put a class together on how to do searches in the MLS without using zones. You guys know the zones are going bye-bye at the end of the year. So perfect. I'm glad you were never taught that way, but there's a lot of agents that were, and that's fine. So I'm going to show you how to use different things like schools, cities, county lines, school zones, but more importantly, the map. The map is really, really cool because you can put in like a one big giant box. Let's say you want all of Northwest Wichita, but you don't want to live within a mile of New Market Square because of the traffic. So you could go in there and actually carve out a section that no houses in this area. So it's really cool. So I will make an announcement when we're going to have that class. Right now, our focus is on Real Scout and on Moxie. So we still want to be able to use the MLS to do your comps and so forth. So that's really where it's going to be kind of geared to. Okay. If no one else has any questions, thank you for the compliment. I wish you guys the best of luck. I'm gonna go ahead and stop the recording. Yeah, you got it. We'll see you. All right, how do I stop recording?